The silence outside the Manhattan courthouse was shattered the moment Brad Pitt stepped out of a black SUV. No press, no entourage, just him and a metallic case held tight in his grip. No one expected him to show up, let alone like this. This wasn't a red carpet strut. This was war. Eyewitnesses say he moved with a determined intensity, bypassing cameras and chaos as if the world outside didn't exist. Inside that unassuming box, sources claim it holds the kind of evidence that doesn't just turn a case, it tears empires down. And the man in the crosshairs? Sean Diddy Combs. The courtroom would never be the same. From the very first step Brad took into that federal chamber, it was clear he wasn't here to play a role. He came to destroy one. The room shifted. Every breath held. One of Hollywood's most iconic figures was about to unleash secrets so deep, so buried, they could change everything we thought we knew about power, fame, and loyalty. This wasn't just a trial anymore. This had become something darker, something more dangerous, a reckoning. And Leonardo DiCaprio? Still missing, his name whispered in panicked tones throughout the gallery, like the ghost of a story still unfolding. Just over 4 weeks into Diddy's spiraling case, a trial already stained with shocking allegations of coercion, manipulation, and a vast network of control, nothing could have prepared anyone for this twist. Inside sources close to the investigation revealed that the steel case Brad carried was turned over to court security under strict protocols. Its contents, so potent, triggered an eruption behind closed doors. And when Diddy saw who had brought it, he lost control, shouting at his own legal team in full view of a stunned audience. Hours earlier, the courtroom was drowning in tension. Former staffers and insiders had already painted a chilling mosaic of Diddy's behind-the-scenes life. Lavish parties masking something far more sinister. But the bombshell hadn't dropped. Not yet. That came when Brad stepped into the witness stand, eyes locked straight ahead, voice steady, tone unforgiving. "I'm not here to defend myself," he said. "I'm here because my friend Leonardo is gone, and I believe Diddy had everything to do with it." The gasps were audible. One of the biggest stars on the planet, missing, and now tied to a case already loaded with scandal? It sounded impossible. But Brad wasn't telling stories. He was recounting a nightmare. Just weeks before, Leo had disappeared. No warning, no explanation, no goodbye. Friends and family tried everything. His phones were off. His apartments sat undisturbed. Not even the Hollywood rumor mill had answers. Brad described the panic building as days passed. "Leo always shows up," he told the court. "Always has a plan. When he vanished, I knew something was seriously wrong." The search became desperate. Brad, Leo's mother Irmeline, and his sister began combing through every inch of his life, from his penthouse in Manhattan to his tucked-away estate in the south of France. Nothing. Then, as if scripted for a thriller, an unmarked envelope landed on Brad's doorstep. Inside, a lone USB drive. What he saw next haunted him. The video was grainy and dark, probably from a cheap surveillance camera, but the image was unmistakable. Leonardo, bound to a chair, his face bruised, his shirt torn, trapped in what looked like a basement with crumbling walls. Then, a distorted voice. 48 hours, 10 million, no police. The message was chilling. But before Brad could act, the phone rang. He wouldn't normally answer an unknown number, but something told him this wasn't ordinary. On the other end, Leo, barely audible, breathing hard. "They don't plan to let me go," he said. "This goes deeper than any of us thought. They're targeting everyone who knows the truth." Then came the shocker. "Brad, the proof, Everything. It's in a box. Topanga Canyon. Basement. You need to find it. And you need to protect my family." With Leo's voice still echoing in his ears, Brad sprang into action. He relocated Leo's mother and sister to his guarded LA home. Then, cloaked in nightfall, he drove alone to Leo's old hideaway deep in the canyon, a place Leo had once described as his safe zone. The property was deserted, wrapped in a tense silence. Down in the basement, behind an old electrical panel, Brad discovered it. A sealed steel case, secured by fingerprint lock. Back in court, as Brad revealed this sequence of events, the room froze in disbelief. There were no theatrics, just hard truth, spoken like a man who'd seen too much. Could the box contain videos, records, names? Whatever it held, Brad believed it could end Diddy's empire and bring Leo home. This isn't just a legal drama playing out under media glare. This is a collision of giants. One man defending his friend and pulling back the curtain on the illusions we've been sold for decades. The other? A mogul who may have spent years tightening the web behind the scenes, assuming no one would dare speak. But Brad Pitt has spoken. And now, there's no turning back. It was supposed to be a forgotten relic, a throwaway moment from a drunken night between friends. But that long-ago gesture, Leo giving Brad a backup access code, would become the thread that unraveled everything. Brad, hands trembling and heart thudding, stood alone in Leo's study, unlocking a cold steel box with the code he never thought he'd need. When the lid creaked open, what stared back at him crushed his breath. He staggered back, barely made it to the sink, and threw up violently. "I've been in films where the world ends," he told the court, "but nothing, not a script, not a nightmare, could have braced me for what I saw." That was the beginning of his nightmare. After Leo's panicked call, Brad had gone to the authorities. But before any action could be taken, a stranger called, pretending to be law enforcement. Calm voice, professional tone, a chilling message. If you go public, they'll eliminate you, and they won't miss. He was told to leave the USB in a discreet park mailbox. No names, no questions. Just do it if you want to live. Desperate and shaken, Brad followed the instructions. Weeks passed, nothing. No leads, no movement in Leo's case. Then it hit him. Hard. "I'd been tricked," he admitted on the stand, voice breaking. "It wasn't a cop. It was someone working for Diddy." And yet, Leo had been cautious. Brilliantly so. Brad had a copy, hidden behind his fireplace, encased in a heat-resistant container Leo himself had bought him as a gift years earlier. Now, Brad was here, evidence in hand, ready to reveal the monster lurking in the shadows of stardom. When the prosecutor asked what was inside the box, Brad simply nodded to the screen. A hard drive was loaded, the lights dimmed, and Hollywood's darkest secrets came into focus. It began with a 12-minute audio file. Leo had recorded it using a hidden device stitched into his cufflink during a covert gathering at Diddy's Cayman Islands estate. His voice, calculated cold, boomed through the courtroom. "You want this empire to last? Then no one talks. I've already erased 3. One of them was that actor." The courtroom gasped. He was referring to a beloved Hollywood star whose private jet had gone down under mysterious circumstances in 2018. The footage didn't stop there. A grainy video flickered on, Diddy standing over a fire pit, reading from a list. Names, 12 of them. "Target priority," he said. One of the names was Leonardo DiCaprio. There was a brief silence as the next file queued up. An eerie, candlelit video appeared, shot by Leo himself on his phone inside an ancient wine cellar beneath the streets of Paris. A strange event was underway, part performance, part ritual, all unsettling. Diddy stood at the center, cloaked in jet black, speaking in strange rhymes before a crowd in masks. At the center of it all, a woman, surrounded by crimson light. The scene played like something out of a gothic horror film, but this wasn't fiction. Alongside the footage was Leo's handwritten journal. Pages filled with regret, terror. One entry stood out. "I tried to leave," he'd written, "but Diddy said he had footage of me too. If I speak, he'll go after my mom, my sister. I collected this so someone else could finish what I couldn't." The final segment left even the court reporter frozen. A file labeled Project Babylon, a massive 200-page dossier, encrypted, time-stamped, compiled over more than a decade. It described a vast global web that stretched from Los Angeles to Eastern Europe, South America, and the Middle East. Women lured with fake modeling contracts. Musicians promised stardom, private jets, offshore safe houses. One map marked 12 key locations: the Caribbean, Dubai, Southeast Asia, hidden compounds guarded by men with military training, and a section labeled Glass Cage, Diddy's private island. A satellite image showed what looked like a fortress, a place no one left, ever. Then, the note, handwritten by Diddy himself. After processing, destroy the trace. Burn it. No evidence. It wasn't a story anymore. It was a confession. As each frame, each line, each name scrolled by, gasps filled the courtroom. One juror wept quietly into her sleeve. Another looked away, unable to watch. And then, from the gallery, a sob. Diddy's daughter. She'd sat silently through the trial. Now she ran out in tears, the footage too much to bear. Brad turned to the judge. His voice cracked, but his tone never wavered. This is what Leo died trying to expose. He didn't just want justice for himself. He wanted freedom for those who'd been trapped, silenced, bought, and discarded. His hands gripped the podium. He told me they might find him, hurt him. But even then, he begged me to protect his family. To bring this here. The room was still. The jury's attention hung on every word. Leo's been missing for over 30 days now. I believe he saw an opening, a window when his captors weren't watching, and that's when he made the call. He said if anything happened to him, this would be my responsibility, and I won't let him down. Brad's statement carried weight, not just because he was famous, but because the fear in his eyes was real, the pain in his voice impossible to fake. He may be alive, somewhere, Brad continued, maybe locked away, maybe worse. But every second that passes, he's living in the nightmare these tapes have shown. We need to find him. We need to help him. Please. The judge didn't speak. The attorneys didn't object. For a moment, it felt as if the entire justice system was holding its breath. That's when you realize it's not about Diddy anymore. It's about what people are willing to risk for the truth. About a man like Leonardo DiCaprio, who spent years pretending to smile for the cameras while documenting horrors behind the curtain. It's about the friend who listened, who acted, who showed up. And it's about the silence that follows when Hollywood finally gets a glimpse of its reflection and doesn't like what it sees. The courtroom had turned to ice as the judge leaned forward, his voice low but deliberate, calling for an immediate search and official inquiry into Leonardo DiCaprio's mysterious disappearance. The room stirred, not with noise, but with breathless anticipation. And then, another twist. Out came a pre-recorded testimony, this time from Adam Sandler, a name no one expected to surface. His confession was gut-wrenching. He described how Diddy had used manipulation like a weapon, luring him in, making him feel owned, psychologically boxed in. "He makes you think you owe him," Adam's voice echoed, "like you'll never escape what he's done for you." That wasn't all. Sandler's statement came with security footage, unearthed from Diddy's private cloud account, showing Diddy coldly instructing a group to handle someone who had refused to play along. The visual evidence was haunting. Combined with earlier claims from Brad Pitt, a terrifying picture began to emerge. One where Diddy wasn't just a man with money and fame, but the architect of a web spun with coercion, fear, and calculated silence. What if Leonardo wasn't just missing? What if he was silenced? But Diddy didn't go down quietly. Enter Mark Agnifo, the legal assassin, known for dismantling even the strongest accusations with surgical precision. With a smirk and a raised brow, Agnifo launched a brutal counter-narrative. Brad Pitt is an actor, a performer. Isn't it convenient that the man who made a career out of fiction now delivers a blockbuster of his own? The courtroom tensed. Agnifo suggested the entire ordeal was Pitt's vanity project, an elaborate script to shatter a mogul's name. He turned the spotlight back on Brad. Why hadn't he gone to the police first? Why bring the drama to the courtroom stage? Was this about justice or attention? The jury leaned in, doubt flickering like candlelight in the wind. Then came the gut punch. Prosecutor Marin Comey, known for never blinking in the face of intimidation, revealed that every piece of Brad's and Adam's evidence, videos, documents, even the mother-son audio clip, had been verified by top forensic analysts. The truth wasn't a performance. It was provable. The clips showed more than Leo's alleged fate. They exposed years of systematic intimidation, extortion, financial cover-ups, and exploitation buried under Diddy's empire. The music icon had built more than a legacy. He'd built a fortress of secrets. And in that moment, Diddy's facade began to splinter. Though his face remained carved in stone, those watching noticed the tremble in his hands, the way his lips moved, whispering frantic words to his attorney. Even the seemingly untouchable couldn't hide from the truth forever. And it was Brad Pitt, America's golden boy, who'd torn open the veil. Why? He didn't need the spotlight. He didn't crave the headlines. But he knew that silence was complicity. And for the first time, perhaps ever, Hollywood's favorite son stood not as a star, but as a man fueled by loyalty, courage, and conscience. There was a strange poetry in that moment. Brad, who once played characters who saved worlds and fought against injustice, was now doing it for real. And the stakes couldn't be higher. Leo's life was still hanging in the balance. With every second, his absence felt heavier, more haunting, as if Hollywood itself were grieving. This case wasn't just Diddy versus the law. It was a mirror held up to an industry that had long been praised for glamour, but whispered about in shadows. What does it say when influence becomes a weapon? When stars once seen as invincible are now revealed as victims or enablers? Audiences once danced to Diddy's beats. Now they sat, stunned, wondering if every chart-topping hit masked something darker beneath. There's a reason Brad's decision feels seismic. It's not just about friendship. It's about accountability. When he took the stand, he wasn't just speaking for Leo. He was speaking for everyone who had been too scared, too silenced, too dismissed. And in doing so, he may have shattered more than just a career. He shattered the illusion that power equals protection. Let's talk about Diddy's financial life, a world just as layered as the one now under scrutiny. Over the years, Diddy amassed a luxury empire. His collection of rare cars included a Maybach 62S, a Lamborghini Gallardo Spider, and a white Rolls-Royce Phantom. His wrist wore timepieces like the Patek Philippe Nautilus and the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. Private jets? He frequently flew in a Gulfstream G550. Real estate? He owned mansions in Holmby Hills, Alpine, New Jersey, and Miami. Business-wise, his stakes in Ciroc Vodka, Revolt TV, and Sean John built a billion-dollar portfolio. He also held extensive insurance covering everything from assets to tour-related liabilities. But in the end, none of that wealth could shield him from truth. The real lesson? Even empires crumble when built on fear. True wealth isn't measured in assets, it's measured in integrity. Today, Diddy stands not as a mogul, but as a man on the brink. And Brad? He has redefined what it means to be a celebrity. Someone who uses fame not for vanity, but for valor. What happens next will ripple through every corner of the entertainment world. So now we're left with questions that cut deeper than headlines. Will Leonardo DiCaprio be found? Will the others, those still afraid to speak, find their voice? Has this trial pulled the curtain back enough for the truth to finally shine through? The gavel may fall, but the echoes of this moment are far from fading. We're standing in the heart of a storm that's rewriting Hollywood's history. And as we look ahead, we're left wondering, who will rise next? Who will dare to speak when the lights go out? To stay part of this journey, uncovering secrets that power tried to hide, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because what we've uncovered is just the beginning. And remember, the truth always finds its way.